Hello everyone, and welcome to the Mackmyra's launch of our new and last in the moment collection, Virvelvind single malt whisky. I'm broadcasting to you live here from the Little Whisky Shop in Stockbridge in Hampshire with Mark Taylor, the owner, joining me to have a little taste of the dram as we go through, see what it's all about, learn a little bit about the whisky itself, and maybe what might be coming next, and hopefully people can enjoy a dram at home if you've got a bottle of it already, or learn a little bit more and then maybe think about getting one should you so fancy. Before we start, then I'll just learn a little bit more about Mark and the shop where we are. I think some people watching will most certainly have heard of the Little Whisky Shop, or purchased bottles from here in the past, or attended some events now that Mark's doing events in his new shop as well. But before we get stuck in, it'd be nice to learn a little bit about Mark and the shop. So Mark, hello.
Hello, good evening on.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us and for letting us join and broadcast from here this evening.
Thank you for coming down.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. We love coming down here, doing events and whatever it is that we get up to. So I guess a good place to start would be to let people know a little bit about maybe yourself, the shop, how it started, why you wanted to get into it.
Sure. Okay. So
a long
story could be. So the shop we've been going for just over 4 years now. Literally, it's 5th of June was our 4th birthday. We set up, called the Little Whisky Shop, because the first shop we had, which is the other end of the high street here in Stockbridge in Hampshire, not Stockbridge, Scotland, which has been mistaken a few times before. But yeah, it's a little sleepy town in Hampshire. We were at the other end of the street, and in a tiny little shop about half the size of this. We very quickly outgrew that, thanks to all our lovely customers, and we decided to move here to a much bigger shop, which also gives us the ability to have a bar. So hence I'm kind of sat in the bar area. We've got a tasting area just off to our right, where Richard, you can't see it unfortunately on camera, but for those that have been in here, you know it. And we set up, say, 4 years ago. It was a complete, utter kind of folly. It was set, the little shop was basically just so I could afford to buy whiskey. Make a bit of money on the side, get to taste a lot of other whiskies that I couldn't afford or couldn't actually get to try. And so we set up the shop, hopefully to pay for that, and so I could open up a lot of bottles and taste them. And it kind of took off, and it's now become 2 full-time businesses for us in the trade. So yeah,
very good. I wish I called in on a lot of retailers and bars and things, in my role, and I do wonder half the time if people have just set themselves up so that they can get access to good whiskies and things as well. So yeah,
you've got to have motivation, and you've got to have a reason for doing it.
Definitely, yeah. That's a good origin story, I would say, for it. So I'm down here quite frequently. I've done a few events with you, various tastings and stuff. One of the reasons that we do that so much is because Mackmyra seems to be very popular in the shop here with the people that come in. So what is it is there a particular thing that you think people like about it, or why do people buy it here?
I think probably because we're passionate about it, so that helps. Well, we absolutely love it, and we tried it literally the first week we opened up in the old shop. We tried the Rook, Swiss Rook, and absolutely fell in love with it. Thought it was stonking, so we then got that in, and that kind of started us on the road to supporting Mackmyra and pushing Mackmyra. A lot of people like it because it's different, so they'll come. The aim of the shop is really try and get people to try different whiskies, and try and get them to try from not just Scotland. Also not anti-Scotland or anything else, but we do try and push the rest of the world, just because it opens up people's horizons to try different things. And Mackmyra, because of the range of it and the quality of the liquid, it really did make sense to kind of feature it. And so we have featured it. We've had 2 private casks, ready casks. We've got 3, I think, stored away, maturing. And I've just sold out the last of our one here. This is the last dregs left of the last cask we had. So the
Smoky
Oloroso, which is absolutely stunning. So yeah, we'll be looking to get some more casks. And the beauty of those casks is it's a nice size. 30 litre, you get 60 up to 60 odd bottles, and that's absolutely perfect. For a shop like us, if you go for a big cask, you get 300, 400, 500 bottles. It starts to get unmanageable.
A lot to take on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. That all makes a lot of sense to me, and I think getting our liquid into glasses for people is one of the most important parts of my role and anyone that works, from Mackmyra, especially in the team that I'm in. So you having a bar here now, I think, is absolutely fantastic.
I think we've probably got pretty much all of your.
Well, I can see a few.
All of them. There's just a few there.
Yeah,
Got some more up there, and a lot of it we've actually run out of because you've run out of them as well.
Yeah.
Can't replace them. So.
That's it. Well, you help us run out of them, I say. So thanks very much for that. And I've mentioned events and things like that, and you mentioned the tasting area that you can't see, but that exists over to my side here, and an outside seating area by the little stream as well, which is a lovely little spot. If people want to learn a bit more about how to get involved in tastings or events you've got going on, or look at the shop, how would they go about doing it?
Yeah, so we online, if you go to Little Whisky Shop.co.uk, we've got a line on there, it's got tastings. We've got 4 or 5 lined up. We will be lining up a Mackmyra one later in the year with you, get you back down here. We're also talking about other things, which hopefully will come online later, which will be great. We do informal tastings as well, so as well as getting brand ambassadors down like Rich, I run them. I come in and bore you to death for 2 hours and get you slozzle, basically.
That sounds like a fun evening.
Yeah, great fun.
Not for the whole family maybe, but for certain people that would be interested in it. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's we sit about 12 to 15. 12 is a nice size for a private sitting, between 6 and 12. And I can take you anywhere you want to go. I can do run the worlds or Scottish regions, years, whatever you want to do, barren types, and it's totally informal. But pretty good fun.
Nice, yeah, very good. It's a lovely little community that you have down here. So the people that come to the tastings, it's really good, nice atmosphere. So,
we've got a lot of real loyal customers who enjoy coming in and having a wee dram or two.
Yeah, nice, yeah, and long may it continue.
Absolutely.
Well, without further ado, then I'll say let's start talking about Virvelvind. We've got here's one we poured earlier. So for anyone that hasn't tried or hasn't heard much about the Moment collection before, the Moment collection for us, the Moment range, is our top tier of retail available single malt whiskey bottles. They are the casks that we use for it are the casks that are set to one side when we're making our whiskies and we're putting recipes together and working out which casks are going to go into which vatting and marry together for a release. Certain casks really stand out. They'll be the ones that are the best version, the best example of what that cask should be at a given age or just in general. And they'll be put to one side and earmarked for potential use in the very small batch limited releases that the Moment collection has. So where our seasonal range whiskies might be anywhere from around like 15,000 bottles in their number. So not very limited in their number, but limited edition in that once they're done, they're done. The Moment range is far smaller. So it'll be anywhere from 1,000 bottles to maybe 4,000. And the one that we're finishing on now, I believe, is 2,049 bottles, and each Moment bottle will be numbered for the individual bottle number and batch quantity that's gone into it. I mentioned briefly at the beginning that this is the last release in our Moment collection as well. So it's been going, I think, better part of 8 or 9 years or so now. We've been doing the Moments, and this will be the very last one. And its inspiration for the car selection sort of circles all the way back to Medvind, which was our first ever Moment release. We can see a bottle of here now, 001 as well, the first ever one of the first in that range. And Virvelvind, the name, whirlwind, is one of the perhaps easier Swedish words to guess of the translation into English. And that alludes, circling all the way back basically to the beginning of the Moment range, something that we've been very proud of, and I will miss, when it's gone. But the last one in there, and this whiskey, I believe, contains the oldest bottled whiskey that we've had so far. So I'll talk a little bit about the cask makeup of it, but a good number of these casks were from 2007. So for us, one of the oldest whiskies that we're able to do, at least at this time, being a relatively young distillery. So I say let's tuck in. You ready to get on the nose. So I'll say if anybody does have any questions at home, if anybody happens to have a bottle of this already, please feel free to write any thoughts or messages, questions in the chat. Birthdays, shout outs, I don't know, whatever it is. If just pop anything in there. And I've got a screen just tucked down to the side here. I will do my best to keep up. But my colleague Carl, our handsome assistant in the background, I'm sure will pop some up on the screen to make it easy for us. So, right, onto the nose. Yeah.
Got a slight scent of smoke on that. Well, it's not overpowering.
So there is some smoke to it. There is some smoke in here. So should I maybe jump to the casks? No, let's nose it a moment. Let's nose it a moment and then see. But yeah,
it's got very cereal. Got orchard fruits kind of fruit potential on that.
Orchard fruits I've got in abundance. Yeah. Lots of apple and pear and things.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's subtle. It's gentle. It's not overpowering.
And it's 46.8% ABV, I should say. So I think it's which is in the sort of middling perhaps ABV, I think, for a lot of people at least. And I think nose is softer than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of apples and berries and things for me, some sweetness. And that smoke, Mark, you mentioned that sort of like quite a subtle smoke. I think on the nose certainly is. It's got our sort of signature like salty, earthy smoke to it, like a tarry smoke, and a little bit of
bonfire-ish.
Yeah,
as opposed to that oily, tarry smoke that you get off of Islers.
So we use for people watching at home for their benefit. Every ingredient that we use at Mackmyra when we're making our whiskey is Swedish. So water, yeast, barley, everything Swedish. And we also use our own peat. So when our founders started in 1999, or started operating then, they wanted everything to be as Swedish as possible. They didn't just want to be another Scottish style whiskey that happened to be in another country. So when but they also knew that they wanted to make a peated whiskey. However, nobody in Sweden back then, and I believe to this day, nobody malting any barley, was actually peating anything because there was no demand for it. So our founders started malting and peating our own barley for our smoky recipe. And I think to this day, I think it's fewer than 10, but I pad it out usually and say fewer than 12. But I think we are one of fewer than 12 distilleries in the world that malt and peat their own barley. I know that there's a good few in Scotland that do a portion of their stuff themselves.
Did you not do it in a container when you first started out? Or something?
Yeah, so when we first started, it was in like a big sort of like garden bin, like a rectangle cuboid bin with like maybe two feet of barley in there malting away. Oh, here we go. Yes, you can see on the right hand side that was the malting floor, the malting bin, and then on the left this sort of duck house, dog kennel looking thing with a lovely, beautiful pagoda roof was the smoker. So you can see where the flap is just on the bottom of the roof. That's where the barley would go in, and then the peat would go in underneath. And the peat that we use is from the Cadin Mussen, how I would say, peat bogs, about 40 kilometres or so away from the distillery. And we also do something very different with our peat. Say very different. Quite different, or unique might be a better word to use. There's thousands of years of Swedish and Scandinavian history of trying to make meat and fish taste a bit better in the winter season. So when they came to cure their meat and fish, they would add different ingredients to their fires as they were drying said foods. And one of the ingredients that they would add into the fire was dried juniper branches, which we saw flash up there. So no berries are in the mix. There's no gin anywhere near this. It's just dried juniper branches go into there. And that's because there's so much tradition and history, as I was saying, in Sweden and Scandinavia at large, of using things like this during the firing process. So we experimented with a few different things in the early days, while we're still using those old bits of kit that you saw in the garden there, and dried juniper branch, what we landed on, and that adds a sort of a resinous note to it, and like a dampness. A friend of mine, people might have heard me say it before if they've joined any tastings of mine, tried Spencer Look, our Swedish smoke from the core range, and he said, thank you very much, like a campfire in the rain, so like a sort of a wetness, a dampness, or a barbecue the morning after a party with the dew and things on it. So a very unique thing, and to me,
but
very
the
appetizing.
It's such a light whiskey, and then you just get this bonfire smoke coming over the top of it. And it fills your mouth, and it's just lovely. It is absolutely lovely.
So yeah, some of that has gone into this, but only a portion. So it's very well balanced. It's not a big in your face smoke, but it's certainly something that a big peat head or a smoke fan would enjoy the quantity in it as well. I think a good balance to it. So yeah, anything else jumping on the nose, or is it time to move to the palate and wet our whistles? Yeah. Well, I'll say thanks for having us, and skål. Yeah. Yeah, a nice silence there. That's when you've had a good meal, everyone goes quiet in the room.
It's so smooth.
Yeah, I think it's much the same as the nose for me for tasting notes, but with a bit of maybe added caramel.
Definitely getting some salted caramel through that. A bit of toffee.
Toffee, I'll take toffee. Yeah, some rounded. So that's caramel toffee.
Citrus oranges. Yeah, citrus. It definitely comes through on the flavour.
I'll take that.
A bit stronger. That peat, there's some peat there, but it's just so subtle. Yeah, it's just hiding in the background, and if you're uber sensitive to peat, then you would pick it up strongly. But probably about Ben Romac, that sort of level of peatiness.
Gentle and nice,
really gentle. It's hidden away.
Present, but not the main show.
Yeah,
it's there. Yeah.
But that is stunningly smooth. That's probably one of the smoothest moments I've had, I think. Just sort of chewing away myself. I agree. This unfortunately, when this turned up at my house, I wasn't able to try it for the first week or so because I was a little under the weather at the time. But now that I'm back out in the game and being able to try it, I've had great fun taking this around to various customers and things over the last few days. And you have to taste it every time you go.
Well, this is it. Well, you have to make sure each time, don't you? You have to make sure
it hasn't gone off.
Yeah. I'll tell everyone I've not tried it before, so I must have a glass myself. And, obviously getting the train around as I go. So
that is absolutely lovely.
Those we mentioned toffee and caramel there. That's sort of like that brown sugary, like
Demerara. Sugar definitely coming through.
Nice. Yeah.
It is. And it's later on that comes through. You get a gentle sweetness early, but that burnt sugar, brown sugar, comes through in the finish. For me, and that's what's sitting there. As to the bit of peat, so now it's the palate's a bit settled, having not had a sip for a while. This smoke, especially across my tongue.
I think it's where the end is where the peat and the smoke sort of shines through. But then even then, it's still not overpowering. No, it's just part of it.
It's just hinting away. So you've just had got that. The dregs and ashtrays are kind of just left over a bit. So
some of that rounded,
really lovely.
Some of that rounded sweetness I was getting maybe on the nose and the palate. I think for the end it turns into sort of, for me in a good way, like a sort of like sour berries and sort of sour fruits, but like again in a good way.
Really
Some notes you write down, there's a bad read, but like when you actually experience it, it's like a really pleasant thing. I think that's definitely coming through there for me. So. I mentioned the casks. You're talking about sort of softness and things, and might be one of the softest, smoothest ones that you've had.
It's not. It hasn't got as much spice as most of the oils that come out. So I'm guessing there's less influence from the Swedish oak.
Yeah. So there's. I think it's about 13% of this is Swedish oak casks. But those Swedish oak casks. So I'll go from the top. So the biggest portion of this. Anyone want to make any notes? I'll give you some exact, my best at the exact percentages, but 42% is 200 litre first fill ex-bourbon barrels, first fill ex-bourbon from 2007. So about 15 years old or so, 15 thereabouts, depending on when those casks went down, which is why it's one of the oldest ones that we've ever had, if not the 32%. First fill ex-bourbon again, but with our Rook recipe. So unpeated for the first lot I was talking about, and then peated for these, filled in 2010. So some roughly 12-year-old smoky whiskies in there. And then the remaining, so there's two 13%ers. One of them new Swedish oak, 100 litre casks, and then 13% 200 litre Oloroso casks that have been used. Both of those casks, we have a spirit option when you're buying 30 litre private cask from us, something we call pre-aged, pre-stored, and that's what we've used here, which means that for both the Oloroso and the Swedish oak, the first 4 years of those 12, they were spent in 200 litre ex-bourbon barrels first. So we sort of premature it in ex-bourbon and then transfer it for 8 years roughly or so to the Swedish oak and the Oloroso. So we do usually have, and we always try and have, I think, a little bit of Swedish oak influence in the cask recipe, because that's a very important part of our identity. And we really like the pepperiness and the dark chocolates and things that you get through
there as well.
Yeah, so that's
just again in background of it, but is there a little bit of pepper on there? On that, towards the back of the mouth.
nice, yeah. So when you mentioned a little bit less, I think you said less pepperiness or less.
Yeah, it's less spiciness and pepperiness that comes through on this one.
Yeah, so a little bit less spiciness on it, and that will be we have used Swedish oak in it, but as I said, 13% of the casks were Swedish oak, and of those casks used, of their 12 years, the first 4 was spent in ex-bourbon. So before it goes in there, it's already got a nice bit of development to it, and it's already got some vanillas and caramels in there that will then that won't become sort of too disjointed by the peppers and spices.
Sometimes the Swedish can take it a bit too spicy.
It can. It's not for everyone. No. I'll say there's definitely a market for it, because our Svensk in the core does incredibly well in a lot of places.
Does, yeah.
But for some who don't like too much pepper and spice, there are other options that we have available for them that would be a bit more tuned. But this one, I'm getting a bit of pepper. I'm getting a little bit of spice on the palate. Not so much maybe for me on the finish, but you couldn't notice any pepper and spice on the nose.
Nothing, no, for me. It's very gentle on the nose. But lots of flavours and fruit, but gentleness. Sometimes when you it's really harsh and in your face as well when you're doing it. This one's just is subtle, but nice.
I could have a go on that more. I say so. For anyone that's joining us that hasn't tried much Mackmyra before or been to any of the tastings that myself and my colleagues have hosted, might not be aware of where we mature our whiskey. So all of these casks that we've used here have been matured in the Boardhorse mines. If you are a simpleton Brit like me, who can't pronounce things with dots or circles above letters, you would read it as Bodas mines, for anyone that's seen that before. But on a recent trip to Sweden a few weeks ago, I was advised, and we can see at the entrance to the Boardhorse mines, it's much more like board horse, is how I've been told to remember that. So what you can see there, that quick picture, was a big gang of us that went over, some cask owners and things that we arranged a special trip for, and got to go down into the mine. So this big cavernous mines, 19th century iron ore mine that's been converted over the years and modernised the top part. Goes about 450 metres deep. I think the shafts, we operate in the 50-metre underground level, so not quite where the Balrog might be hiding. I like to joke. So we've got these huge big rooms down there where we've got one room might be filled with spice, and one here. Oh, here we are. This is looking back up the entrance into the mine. So taking this picture from the mine itself, looking back up to the top. It's a good 8 or 9 minute walk back up there. And this is one of the rooms where we've got lots of our cask packed down there. Big tarpaulin roofs that you can see to stop the water dripping on the cask, so we can keep them nice and all in good order, nothing interfering with them. And you might have one room, I think we try our best to keep it like this, but one room will be spice, so Swedish oak and Olorosos and things. Another room will be smooth and sweet, like the ex-bourbons and American oaks and that sort of thing there. But a lovely place to go. If you have a look at our website, mackmyra.co.uk, we are organising another trip where we do an overnight stay, a tour of the distillery of our Gravity distillery, big 35-metre tall vertical distillery where production begins at the top and then each floor on the way down is the next stage. So a tour around there, meals, drinks, and then off to the Boardhorse mines the next day. And a trip around we will do in October for the next one around our original distillery where this has been distilled, the Brooks distillery, which we might be able to see a picture of now if Carl's got one to hand. Here we go, perfect. So the white building with the red brick to the left of it, you can see in the foreground of the picture here, is the Brooks distillery. That is situated where Mackmyra actually is. It's a little river island, about an hour and a half north of Stockholm, and about 15 minutes sort of west or so of where we are now, near the city of Gävle. So yeah, the Mackmyra, an actual place. It's not just us trying to sound Scottish. It is an actual place where one of the founders is from, and there's a very funny meaning as well behind that. But we'll save that maybe for another day. Right. So if anyone's watching at home and thinks, "Woof, that sounds delicious," or good enough for me, hopefully it sounds delicious, but to each their own. Mark, if somebody wants to buy a bottle, how would they go about doing it?
So obviously we've got them in the shop. You can come and taste it. We've got a bottle open. There's a fair amount left of it.
Yeah.
It may not be the end of tonight. So you can come in the shop, try it, and buy it from here. Or we've just broken the business. It's been pretty successful. We've just split the business into two. So shop is going to be purely shop and selling to people who walk through the door. Our online business has moved to a new business, which is the Spirit Warehouse, which is spiritwarehouse.co.uk. You can get to it coming from either website, either going direct or from the Little Whisky Shop. And the idea there is we needed a warehouse to house the vast quantities of Mackmyra we're buying, and also to do our online packing, because it's a nightmare trying to do in the shop type thing. So we've moved into that. So yeah, completely same people, same company, effectively in a sense, but just separate business. So same people operating it. Jenny is the one my wife Jenny, we're the one who puts a lot of little messages in your packaging, try and make it as personal as we can for you. But yeah, you can buy it online as well from there.
Nice, yeah. So the Little Whisky Shop will work, or the Spirit Warehouse.
Little Whisky Shop, and then if you find it, there's a link through to Spirit Warehouse, or if you go to spiritwarehouse.co.uk, that's the direct line in. And you'll see it looks very, very familiar if you've shopped from us before.
And so this new big warehouse have you got a warehouse set up for your personal consumption?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My testing room.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Got to be done.
All right. Well, I say that's probably all we've got time for today. We wanted to keep this short and sweet and just introduce the whiskey to it for you. Oh, okay. Yeah. Go on. Well, okay. A question from Mark. Yeah.
Because you grilled me, I'm going to grill you a bit.
Go on.
So, last moment.
Yeah.
Sad to see that. I have to say myself, because I absolutely love the bottle. I love all the features. I love being able to collect the label, metal label, and the story behind it. And when I'm doing a tasting, I spend forever talking about it at the end of the day. But so, what's going to happen? What's going to replace these?
So we the seasonal range and the moment range have come to an end. They will be replaced. It's yet to be announced officially what is going to replace them, but we will continue to have releases and limited edition releases in the same echelons that they've been before. So again, it's not been officially announced what's going to sort of take their place, but we will continue to have limited editions and small batch releases of things. And we want to continue. So the seasonal range and the moment range were excellent for showcasing different styles that we're able to do in Sweden. We have the freedom to use different casks, and obviously I mentioned the peating process being a bit different. So we will continue to have other options that would fit into those similarly priced, let's say, ranges, but nothing official has been announced yet. But watch this space. There will be something to take.
I understand the boxes are changing. Obviously, you changed the seasonal boxes, changed from being kind of that large, cumbersome to a much easier
fits better on the shelf, easier for people to pack. I know my collection at home. I had a few of these before I even joined the company, and now that they're in the slimmer, smaller boxes, it does suit me better, I will say, because I can fit more on my shelf and able to see them. Because
I have a perfect one for single bottle box.
Yeah.
So when you're packing, they were a pain.
Yeah,
I won't be sad to see that shape go. But interesting. So do you think the range is all going to kind of focus on that?
So I can't speak to whatever will replace the moment range, but the seasonals and the limiteds that will come out for that, everything should be basically in these new sized boxes that are easier to handle, easier to ship, and then you can fit more on your shelf at home. So you're able to, if you're anything like me and you buy more whiskey than you drink and you end up having to look at it for a long time, you're able to fit more on the shelf and you can see more of it.
The barrel is double stacked.
Yes.
On.
Yeah, I've seen that one over there. There is anyone that does come into the Little Whisky Shop and thinks, oh, let's go and have a look at this, I do encourage you to come down. There's a fantastic selection of whiskey here, but we've got our own dedicated barrel cask in the corner there with lots of whiskies and lots of our whiskies stacked on the top. So
and lots that are no longer for sale anywhere else.
Yes, yeah, 1 or 2 that you've got snuck in there as well. So anyone who wants to find something a bit more niche, it is a place out in the wild where you can find some things that we sold out some time ago. So
any questions?
I think that's it. I think we've got a message for a few people just saying, ho ho, love the pronunciation. Thanks very much, John Howell, keeping up to date with some of those. Yeah, I'm not sure, John Balls, I'm not sure which one that might have been. But yeah, probably not Board Horse. We go. Oh, and Kev, hello Kev, nice to see you. Peppery, reading English to be fair, so he's definitely trying at home with us. Ask Rich about the clock behind him. Oh, yeah, okay. So this is a clock. So we've got. I've name dropped him already. Our handsome assistant Carl, that's in the background, putting the pictures up on the screen at just the right time, showing us some comments here and there. He's also an expert woodworker in his spare time, and has made this clock out of a cask end for us. So iron hoop around the end, it's just the end of one of our old 30-litre casks. And Mark's a very special customer of ours, so we offered him a clock as a thank you for supporting us so much. So he's got one. There's other little bits of Mackmyra paraphernalia all dotted around the shop as well. So anyone who wants to come and see some of these things, come down and have a look. And then Steve, oh hello Steve as well. Good to see Steve in here. New design, save a lot of space. So pleased to see that. Yes, me too. I will say I do quite like the look of the sliding boxes, but as I mentioned, and as Steve has agreed, you're able to see more and fit more on your shelf. So win-win, I'd say. Cool. Right. Well, so that's it. Unless you've got any more grilling to do, I'll say thanks very much, Mark.
You told me to keep it short. Yeah. Answer any difficult questions. So
yeah,
I wanted you to have you down again, so I'm asking you.
I vetoed some questions.
Yes.
Yeah, I did. Right, well, really, thank you from me and the team. Thank you very, very much for letting us come down and coming out in your spare time in the evening as well to join us to do this. Thanks to anyone from the Little Whisky Shop, customers or people that work in Paul, everyone. Thanks very much for supporting us and drinking our whiskey and hopefully enjoying it. Thanks everyone for watching from home and the people that have commented. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. And I'd say check out our socials, check out the Little Whisky Shop socials and web shop, and hopefully see you another time on an event or another one of these. So thanks very much. Skål and cheers.
Cheers everyone.